Folks, it's cold outside. In fact, last week, 49 of the 50 states, or 57 if you're President Obama, had snow on the ground. Record snowfall and extreme temperatures in Japan. I could go on. And for the last 17 years, there is literally no measurable warming of the globe. But our Secretary of State, John F. Kerry, says the debate is over. The globe is warming or climate change is happening, whatever. Over the weekend, he said he's not going to debate it anymore and took a shot at anyone who disagrees. Listen.
The science is unequivocal, and those who refuse to believe it are simply burying their heads in the sand. Now, President Obama and I believe very deeply that we do not have time for a meeting anywhere of the Flat Earth Society.
All right, Greg. So you pointed something out important.
Well, yeah, Jakarta has been often the target of terror attacks, and listening to this guy, I mean, 1 degree Celsius is somehow more damaging than Iranians getting a nuke. This is just not a Secretary of State. He could be Secretary of H&R Block. You know why? You can't make money off good news. You can only make money in the environmental movement if there's bad news. While the climate has warmed slightly, hurricanes and cyclones have fallen. But this is a great fact from Matt Ridley. Since the 1920s, the global annual death rate from weather-related diseases has declined by 99%. And hurricanes that hit Mexico, no death. But when they hit places like Burma of equal power, they kill 200,000. The answer is always going to be in prosperity and freedom. That's good news. He can't sell that. And by the way, none of those people were listening to him. They were like going, "You're out of your mind, you strange man."
Dana, they're actually wondering, like, how much money can we get for that?
Yeah.
It's interesting. The Senate Democrats late last week said, you know what, this is the new thing. We're going to talk climate change now. So over the weekend, the talk shows went there, and John Kerry goes there as well. This is like a concerted. How does this happen?
I think that this is the influence of John Podesta, who recently left Citizens for American, or what is it, CAP, whatever it's called, and went to the White House. He is a he would call himself a strong environmentalist. I'd call myself a strong environmentalist. Let's just say that on the science part that they're right. I'm not saying that, but let's just say that they are. Their policy prescription is so weak that they never talk about it. So what they've decided to do is fight on science grounds, and it's very unusual, I think, for a Secretary of State to use language in a very undiplomatic way about flat earthers, people who might disagree
in a foreign country
with him. And it would be amazing if they had that much conviction about the people who are being killed in Syria. Just imagine if they would focus on the Geneva talks rather than being in Indonesia talking about climate change. We were closer to an international agreement on climate change with the Asian Pacific region in the Bush administration. There is no policy answer that John Kerry is offering right now.
Bob, how do you explain this? How do you explain that of all the things going on in the world right now, that John Kerry figures this is the best thing for him to be spending his time on?
Let me just say, we always get in fights about this, so let me just say that those of us who agree with the National Academy of Science that say 95% of the published climate scientists in the world agree that there is global warming is because of
I have
human.
it here,
wait a second.
I know you.
I'm just reading it just right from here. Let's leave that aside. You don't agree with that. These guys see a cataclysmic situation developing if this continues. If it does, what Kerry's arguing about this being the weapon of mass destruction, if the oceans were to rise, just for the sake of argument, 3 or 4 inches, it would wipe out hundreds of millions of people.
No,
but do they not have to have a policy prescription?
You're not lying, but they are.
In Bangladesh alone.
But that's not
true. Why isn't it true?
I will tell you. Well, go ahead.
I just wanted to throw out there the study that you're citing over and over again is, in fact, debunked, and we have it right here. John Cook put out by the Journal of Science and Education. They went back to looked at all his data, and turns out it's not 97%. It's less than half of 1% of the scientists agree that the globe, not that the globe is warming, that the globe is warming because of man-made.
That is simply, and anybody who put that out is bunk. That's bunk.
Can I please get Andrea in here?
I'm just listening to y'all talk. I think that Richard Linson, who we've brought up before, MIT professor, has it right, and I think most people probably agree with him, which is, okay, a small amount has happened, but there's no need for alarm bells. There's no need to go crazy. And I do think it falls probably somewhere in the middle. What I find is so bizarre is that John Kerry also is overseeing the Keystone Pipeline. Why they would move that under the purview of the U.S. State Department. And I agree with Greg. It's not just the Indonesians that are probably going, what the heck is this guy talking about? There are probably terrorists in caves laughing their asses off, going, this is what the Secretary of State has made his #1 priority. Great. We're glad this is what they're going to focus on to control the lives of Americans while we plot to kill them.
I have to do this. I'm sorry, Andrew, cut you off, but I want to get this in. This is something that John Kerry also said in his speech. Listen to this.
Climate change can now be considered another weapon of mass destruction, perhaps even the world's most fearsome weapon of mass destruction.
Go,
You
Greg,
know what?
quick one.
The farther you get away from September 11th, the closer you are to September 10th.
Oh, good point. Here's the science. Like you said, temperatures haven't risen over 17 years, while CO2 has been rising. That discrepancy is unusual. But if there's an overall a slight increase over the century in Celsius, that actually saves lives. A warmer climate actually allows you to grow more crops, and more people die in cold weather. So they're actually arguing for more death.
No, wait a minute. When I was in the Peace Corps in the Philippines, 3 or 4 inch rise in the South China Sea will kill tens of millions of Filipinos.
Okay.
I'd love to see the science on that, Bob.
We got to go.
Okay, well,
Go?
science is clearly out of
All right, head on the 5.